Uranus here, Amara, and today we're going to talk about something that, you know, we may have talked about before, but I think it probably does need to be talked about again. Alright, so the Unstraight and Sailor Moon. And I know we talked about this many times, but there are still some folks in this world who wonder why now it's not a big deal to have cells that are unstraight, but back then it was a big deal. And why it was a really truly a big deal if it was a show, film, or play or book that was written for kids. Now, I'm not going to go through and talk about the mindset and the stand of the folks that were against it. We know there are still folks like that out there. But, so, get out of here. So, we're going to talk about why Dic and later on Cloverway had to do what they did. Now, a lot of folks think that Dic and Cloverway could just, kept it all in. Yes, they could have. There wasn't any law or oversight that said they had to do it. But why they choose to make Zoisite a woman, and guess what? Not only the English offshoot is Zoisite a woman, but in the German offshoot, Zoisite is a woman too. So you can't say that it only was done by Dic. But the grounds to why Dic had to make Zoisite a woman was that there were folks who were watching this show with their kids. Well, and there were some folks that some folks would have only said, alright, you're not watching that show anymore, and that would have been the end of it. But there would have been folks that would have gone utmost beyond just telling their kids they weren't watching that drawing show anymore. They would have, taken it up with the folk work. And at the time, Dic had gotten a deal with UPN and WB for Sailor Moon. They kind of had a deal with Fox 2 at the time, but mostly it was UPN and WB back in the day. And the Folkworks got, folks calling in or writing in about how they didn't like the show. And if that didn't work, these folks would have gone to the utmost, and they would have brought their anger on Dic. Well, if they would have gone to the Folkworks, WB and UPN would have told them, "Oh, sorry, folks don't like the Unstraight, Malachite, and Zoisite. You either have to shift that out, or they're going to make us have to end, or we're going to have to, end the deal." Because a lot of folks are angry over this. And Dic didn't want to be put in that bind. So that's why Dic made Zoisite a woman. Now, I know some of you folks out there may have not stand with that back in the day. Which you got to understand where Dic was coming from. Now, you might say, oh, well, Cloverway didn't have to do it. Well, keep in mind, even though it was 20-0, the stand and the mindset for some folks was still the same. So yeah, Cloverway had to take me, Sarah Uranus, some folks say I'm not saying my name right, and Sailor Neptune, and we were unstraight, and made us near kin. Now a lot of folks have a held belief that that was only Cloverway making fun of Dic for having to shift, unstraight to straight. I don't think so. I think once again it was Cloverway, Pioneer, those two businesses didn't want to be put in the same bind that Dic would have been put in. And keep in mind, by then Sailor Moon had lost its deal with UPN and WB and Fox. It had lost its deal with USA, and now it had Cartoon. If it lost the cartoon folk work, that was the end of it. If it lost the live drawing folk work, that would be the end of it. So yes, even Cloverway had to shift some things out too. Because once again, Cloverway would have been the same bind that Dic would have been in, and I'm not going to say what I said before, because you know everything I said before would have happened again. Then we come down to Fisheye, or Fish's Eye, whatever you want to call her. Not really much of a likeness with the name. And some folks have a held belief that it's a over clothing man, but I don't believe that. Because after I watched the Cloverway or Pioneer one, or Pathseeker one, and then watched the Viz one, I come to the belief that Fisheye is a woman and every offshoot. So there was really, but the only thing that it had to do was shift away from any time she was. The only thing they truly had to do with her is there were some times where she didn't have clothes on and they had to put clothes on her, but that was it. Um, and that's it. Now I know some of you folks might say, "Oh well, Viz didn't have to do anything." Well, yeah, by the time Viz got the rights to work with all the 5 followings of Sailor Moon, they were putting them out on disc. They didn't have they had streaming deals. Yes, that's true. But the mindset and the stand of some folks had shifted. Some folks were more open minded. Some folks were willing to learn about why someone chose to see themselves as unstraight. Some folks, were willing to, have more understanding of it than there was before. That doesn't mean to say there still aren't some folks out there that are against it or think it's sinful or unlawful. There still are. But more folks are more open minded and have an understanding of it. So they're more willing to they're more willing, you know. So, yeah. At the end of the day, that's why Dic and Cloverway had to do what they did to the Unstraight. And I know some of you folks out there from the Unstraight followership and the straight followership, or anyone out there, can stand on any way they want to stand. But you can't say that there was nothing. You can't say it was shameful. You can't say that it was done in some bad way. If you want to believe that if it was, you can't say that. Like, you could have that belief, but when you watch it, it wasn't really a big deal. And any shifts they may have made to it didn't do anything to harm anyone at the end of the day. So anyway, if you like this film, then follow me over here at Sailor Moon for Life. Watch the other film we made yesterday over here where Sailor Pluto talked about being a keeper of room and time. Sarah Uranus, Amara, I'll see you later. Bye.